Imagine you're walking down a street in like a bustling Chinese city.
Yeah, picture it.
Right. It's 10 o'clock at night. All the big office buildings are totally dark, and, the formal restaurants are locking their doors.
They're completely done for the day.
Exactly. But the street itself, it is fully awake. The night air is just incredibly thick.
Oh, you can practically taste it.
You really can. It's filled with this heavy smell of spices, burning charcoal, and just the loud, happy sounds of people laughing. So, as our source material today playfully says, "Welcome to Taste China, learn English."
I love that opening line.
Me too. Today, we are going on a deep dive into a really fascinating cultural snapshot.
We really are. We're using a script from an English learning program, which is totally focused on Chinese culture, to kind of guide us through the sights and sounds of what's called Shokyu.
Shaoe, which translates to Chinese street barbecue.
Exactly. It's street barbecue. And we're going to unpack what that actually means.
Because, most of you listening already know what a barbecue is.
Sure. You hear barbecue and you probably picture a sunny afternoon in a quiet backyard.
Right. Maybe some guy wearing an apron, holding some tongs. But this late night dining scene in China will just completely challenge that assumption.
It's a totally different world.
It is. We are going to dive right into the heart of Chinese street culture. And, since our source is designed for English learners, we are going to pick up some really great, highly descriptive vocabulary along the way.
Oh, definitely. And the vocabulary perfectly highlights the biggest difference between these two worlds, which is, honestly, the physical size of the food.
Yeah, let's talk about the great skewer divide.
Right. So think about a traditional Western barbecue. The entire meal is usually built around massive pieces of meat.
Oh, for sure. You're cooking like a thick, heavy steak or just a huge round burger.
Exactly. And you are cooking it very slowly on this big metal grill. It's a slow, kind of quiet process.
Like, you literally commit to one giant piece of beef for 20 minutes. It's like what I always compare the Western barbecue to sitting down to watch a feature-length movie.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. You sit down, you commit to this one big heavy thing, and you basically experience one main flavor for the entire meal.
Yeah, you're locked in. But Chinese shake follows a totally different philosophy. Almost everything is on a stick.
Which brings us to our first vocabulary word.
Yes, skewer. A skewer is simply a long, thin piece of wood or sometimes metal.
And you use it to hold all these small, bite-sized pieces of food together while they cook over a fire.
Right. And because everything is chopped up into these tiny pieces on a skewer, it completely changes how you order.
Oh, it really does. You don't just see one or two meats. When you walk up to a stall, you see these massive glass display cases.
Hundreds of raw skewers just lined up.
And the variety is incredible. You have your standard meats, obviously. Lamb, beef, chicken wings.
But then there's the seafood section. Squid or raw oysters that literally bubble and cook right inside their own shells over the fire.
Oh, wow. And don't forget the adventurous stuff for the brave eaters out there.
Oh, right. You might find grilled silkworms or chicken feet.
Yeah, so every single skewer gives you a completely different taste. Going back to my analogy, if Western BBQ is a feature-length movie, Shokno is like scrolling through your TikTok feed.
Yes, or like a tapas menu.
Exactly. It's this rapid-fire, highly curated series of small, diverse bites.
You have a spicy piece of lamb, and then 30 seconds later, you're eating a savory bite of squid.
But, jumping between all these different flavors so rapidly means the cooking method has to be totally different, too.
It has to be. You can't just toss a tiny, thin skewer of meat into a closed barbecue and leave it there.
No way. It would just turn to ash. It would dry out completely.
Exactly. It would burn to a crisp. So instead, the vendors cook these tiny pieces over intense open heat very, very quickly.
The fire has to be just ridiculously hot.
ridiculously hot. And that high temperature instantly cooks the outside, which locks all the natural juices inside.
Which is brilliant, but because they're cooking it so fast, they have to apply the flavor immediately, right?
Right. And it has to be powerful, which brings us to the real sensory magic of the grill: the smoke, the heat, and of course the spices.
Oh man, the spices. The aroma of Shockno is just unmistakable. You can smell it from blocks away.
You really can. And according to our source, it all comes down to a few very specific secret spices.
Mostly one main ingredient though, right? The soul of the barbecue.
Yes. In Chinese, it's called ziran. And in English, we call it cumin.
Cumin.
Right. It originally became famous in Xinjiang, which is this vast region in the northwest of China.
And for anyone listening who maybe hasn't cooked with cumin before, it has this very strong, heavy, almost earthy smell.
Earthy is the perfect word for it. It feels warm.
But they don't just use cumin by itself, do they?
Oh, rarely.
Yeah.
It's almost always mixed heavily with crushed chili flakes.
So you get that deep, earthy base from the cumin, and then bam, a sharp, spicy kick from the chili.
Exactly. And those spices act as the primary seasoning for the meat.
Ooh, let's pause there. Seasoning. That is a great vocabulary word for our listeners today.
It really is. Seasoning just means the salt, the herbs, or the spices that you add to food to make it taste better.
Right. But adding the seasoning at a street stall isn't just shaking a tiny bottle. It is a highly active, very public process.
It's performance. The vendor is standing right on the street, holding maybe 20 or 30 skewers in one hand.
Just flipping them all rapidly over this long, narrow box filled with glowing red charcoal.
Yeah. And with their other hand, they're aggressively throwing these huge handfuls of dry cumin and chili seasoning directly over the meat.
Right over the open flames, which creates this very specific sound.
The sizzle.
Yes, the sizzle. Another fantastic vocabulary word. A sizzle is literally that sharp, continuous sus sound.
It's the sound of moisture or fat hitting intense heat.
Especially lamb fat, right? Lamb has a really rich fat content.
Oh, yeah. So as it cooks, that fat melts, turns into liquid, and drips straight down onto the white-hot coals.
Okay, wait, let me ask you a question here because I'm picturing this in my head.
Sure.
If the vendor is just throwing handfuls of dry cumin and chili powder over these tiny little sticks, isn't a huge amount of that seasoning just falling through the gaps?
Oh, absolutely.
So doesn't it just hit the coals and burn up? Is it just a waste of spices?
Well, see, that is the secret genius of it. It does fall into the fire, but it doesn't just disappear. The extreme heat causes the dry spices to toast and vaporize.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then when that melting lamb fat drips down and hits those exact same spice-covered coals, it creates this sudden thick cloud of smoke.
Wait, really? So the heavy reliance on cumin and chili isn't just about what sticks to the meat. The vendor sprinkling it over the flames actually changes the chemical profile of the smoke itself.
Exactly. Because the coals are covered in toasted cumin and chili oil, the smoke isn't just regular charcoal smoke anymore.
It's heavily spiced smoke.
Right. The smoke actually becomes an active ingredient in the recipe.
That is amazing.
It's a dual flavoring process.
Yeah.
The meat gets seasoned from the top by the dry powder, and then from the bottom by this rich, spiced smoke rising up and coating it.
Which totally explains why the air around these street stalls is so thick. You are literally breathing in aerosolized cumin and lamb fat.
You really are. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about meat, but we definitely can't forget the vegetables.
Oh, true. Vegetables are a massive part of this.
Yeah, the heat and that spiced smoke transforms simple vegetables into something incredible. You'll see whole eggplants or these thin slices of potato placed right on the grill.
And when they cook over those smoky coals, they become incredibly tender.
Tender, yes, great word.
For our English learners, tender just means food that has become very soft, delicate, and easy to chew.
Like a grilled eggplant cooked over spiced smoke. It practically melts in your mouth. You don't even need a knife.
Oh man. So we've got this incredibly vivid sensory picture now, right?
We do.
The earthy cumin, the hot chili, the tender vegetables, the sizzling lamb fat. But, the delicious food alone doesn't entirely explain why millions of people are perfectly happy sitting out on a noisy street until 2 in the morning.
No, it doesn't. To really understand the power of Shakyé, you have to look at the environment.
It's all about the vibe.
Totally. The popularity of this food is deeply tied to the social atmosphere.
Right, because you are definitely not walking into a quiet, formal restaurant.
Not at all. There's no soft piano music playing, no white tablecloths. You are sitting outside, literally on the sidewalk.
Usually on these tiny, cheap plastic stools.
Yeah, those little plastic stools. They are so low to the ground that your knees are practically touching your chest.
And there are cars and scooters just zipping by on the road, maybe 3 feet away from you.
People at the tables next to you are talking loudly, laughing, clinking glass bottles of cold beer or soda.
It's chaotic, but in the best way. Because that environment completely demands that you drop your fancy manners.
You have to. You're eating with your bare hands. You've got spicy cumin powder all over your fingers.
Used wooden sticks are just piling up on a metal tray in the middle of the table. You are literally shouting over traffic just so your friends can hear you.
Right. You couldn't be pretentious in this setting, even if you tried.
Which is exactly the point. And this perfectly illustrates our final vocabulary word for this deep dive. Unwind.
Unwind. To deeply relax.
Right. To stop worrying about your problems after a long period of tension or hard work, I always tell people to imagine a thick rope that is wound up really tightly.
Oh, that's a great visual.
Yeah, when you let it go, it unwinds, it loosens up. And think about it. You spend all day in a strict office, you follow the rules, you speak quietly, you're wearing uncomfortable clothes.
You are wound up tight.
Exactly. So when night comes, you desperately need to unwind.
And the physical environment of the street stall being informal and outdoors actually creates that mental release.
It's a beautiful irony, isn't it?
What is?
Well, we often think true relaxation requires luxury. Like, you need a quiet, fine dining restaurant with expensive wine to feel at peace.
Oh, right.
But fancy settings actually make people tense. You worry about using the right fork, or speaking too loudly, or spilling something.
Yeah, you're on guard. But a cheap plastic stool on the side of the road removes all those social pressures instantly.
The messy, loud environment actually forces you to let your guard down in a way a fancy setting never could.
And the format of the food itself drives that social interaction too.
Because of the small portions.
Exactly. Because everything is on a skewer, you don't just order one massive plate of food, finish it in 20 minutes, and leave.
Right, it's not feature film.
Right, it forces an extended stay. The ordering process becomes this continuous, steady rhythm.
You sit down, order 10 skewers, you share them, you chat. Then 30 minutes later, someone waves the vendor down and orders 15 more of something else.
And then an hour later, you want some tender eggplant, so you go order that.
It stretches a single meal out over several hours.
Which makes eating a highly social event. It cements Shako as the absolute heart of Chinese street culture. People sit for hours just connecting with each other.
So food really acts as the architecture for that social connection.
It really does. The tiny sticks, the loud street, the spicy smoke, they all build this safe space to just genuinely connect after a stressful day.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive. We've explored how the rapid-fire variety of small skewers totally differs from Western barbecues.
We learned about the magic of cumin and chili creating that aerosolized, spiced smoke.
Right, the sizzle. And we discovered how cheap plastic stools and a messy environment actually create the perfect space to unwind and drop our fancy manner.
And of course, we picked up some great English vocabulary.
Yeah.
Skewer, seasoning, sizzle, tender, and unwind.
So for you listening, we really want you to think about your own favorite late night informal food traditions. Where do you go to unwind? What are those spaces in your city that let you drop your guard?
And, I want to leave you with one final kind of provocative thought to mull over.
Oh, let's hear it.
Well, our source clearly mentions that sake is the heart of Chinese street culture, right? It thrives on these informal outdoor gatherings.
Yeah.
But as modern cities continue to rapidly develop, we see a lot of gentrification. Governments are increasingly regulating or even banning informal street vending because they want clean, quiet streets.
Oh, wow. That's a really good point.
Yeah. So if the smoke finally clears and these essential, loud, messy hums of community disappear entirely, where does a city go to unwind?
Man, that is a heavy thought. That definitely stays with you long after the meal is over.
It really does.
Well, thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. Whether you're practicing your English vocabulary or just dreaming of eating some spicy cumin lamb tonight, we are so glad you were here.
Keep asking good questions, keep practicing your vocabulary, and definitely keep exploring the world around you.
Have a wonderful night, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.